Hello, subscribers and non-subscribers, and welcome to another episode of Chaos Head. It's been, I think, something like 3 weeks or so since I last recorded this. I do want to apologize for that. Obviously, it was meant to go up last week, but because of some things that occurred on my end, it didn't go up. Or I didn't even record it, in fact. But let's go ahead. This is actually the newest part. This is my second time recording this because I figured out that I did not have my audio set up correctly in Bandicam. Now it is set up properly, and thus I am able to actually go and really record this properly. So this is where I left off at the end of the first recording. This is where we left off at the end of last episode. Let's go with where we left off at the end of last episode so you guys aren't confused as to what's going on. Let me also go ahead and start my timer. And so, let's see. My body was drenched with sweat. A chill ran down my back. I glanced around in puzzlement, unable to grasp my situation. A hunchbacked old lady was sitting next to me. Her eyes were buried in wrinkles, and I couldn't tell whether she was sleeping or awake. When I looked at the clock above the reception counter, it indicated that an hour had passed since I first began waiting here in the lobby. Had it all been a dream? I might have dozed off as I waited due to not having slept since yesterday. I let out a deep sigh. It had been a hideous dream. It was a dream, right? I thought back over everything that had happened up until yesterday. It's okay. My memories continued sequentially. I'd encountered the demon girl at the scene of the crime, then been deceived and threatened by Yua, then I'd come to the hospital wanting to prove my normality. That's right. It's all okay. Although I wouldn't have minded if in truth I'd imagined everything. Maybe I'd be much happier creating a new delusionary world and enjoyably whiling away my time there. I was so sick of my current situation that I'd started to think like that. In the end, I was forced to wait another 2 hours before they finally called my name. Yeah, hospitals take ages, a lot of the time. When I entered the examination room, I experienced the hallucination that I was having a repeat of the same dream as before. Dr. Takashina looked just the same as he had in my dream. No, it was simply that he hadn't changed in the 4 years since we'd last met.
今日はどうしました?
He didn't say, your memories are all delusionary, but...
日常です。
ん? おお、これはご丁寧に。高階です。はじめまして。
He bowed his head to me with a smile. I couldn't say anything. Nice to meet you. Was that he had said to me just now? No mistaking it. He had forgotten about me. Of course, 4 years had passed since then. But I thought he, if no one else, would remember me. I'd embraced such expectations all on my own. But upon having them shattered, my heart abruptly began to overflow with loneliness and emptiness. I felt that he denied my existence. He looked me in the eyes as he spoke. I averted my gaze.
無遊病かどうか調べてほしいと書いてあるが、何かあったのかな?
Yes, that was what I'd written on the questionnaire form, but there was no longer any point. If he didn't remember me, then...
別にいいじゃん。先生が覚えてようが覚えてなかろうが関係ないっしょ。最初の目的を忘れちゃダメ。
Ah, right. I didn't come here to see Dr. Takashina. I'd come to prove that I was a normal human being. Reunited with Dr. Takashina was nothing more than a bonus, so he'd forgotten me. So what? If Sarah hadn't warned me in time, I'd have been in danger of losing sight of myself.
自分でも知らないうちに外に出かけててパソコンで文章打っててそれを全く覚えてないなんてありえますか？
And I do imagine that it is, of course, theoretically possible to basically do all of these things, but of course have no recollection of having done it, especially if you're sleepwalking.
おお、
知り合いからそう指摘されて混乱しちゃって。
その知り合いの人が冗談を言っているっていう可能性はあると思うかい？
Yu's eyes had been serious if I hadn't seen, or it hadn't seemed at all like she was teasing me. At the very least, Yu herself believed what she was saying.
わかりません。
なるほど。ちなみにその知り合いとはどういう関係だろう？恋人？
I do find it interesting that he instantly assumes that this acquaintance is a girl, for one thing. That is, I would say, a bit of a stretch. Like, we haven't really said anything that would indicate in any real shape and or form that the acquaintance, or at least the gender of the acquaintance. We've just said, hey, yeah, an acquaintance said this. It could be easily either of the two genders, so. What was he saying all of a sudden? And what did it have to do with anything? And how did he jump to that conclusion, would be my question, as well.
あ、いや、言い方が悪かったかな。じゃあ言い直そう。
Yeah, I'd admit that you did probably phrase that kind of poorly, depending on what you were actually trying to say.
その知り合いの人は君が意識もないまま歩き回っているのを実際に目撃したのかな？
And I would say that is a much better way of phrasing the question. Oh, so that's what he meant. I shook my head.
じゃあ証拠はないわけだ。
Well, there is proof. Whether or not you would believe us is a different story altogether. I shook my head one more time.
そいつ探偵気取りっていろいろ証拠を突きつけてきて。
そういうことか。ちなみにこれまでにも無遊病の兆候はあったかい？
いえ。
朝目覚めたらいつものベッドじゃなくて違う場所で寝てたっていうことは過去に一度でもあった？
Well, this does imply that you slept in your usual bed. It's possible that, of course, you aren't sleeping in your usual bed and you find yourself sleeping somewhere else rather than where you went to sleep originally. Which is honestly the way I would actually ask this question, is just, have you ever found yourself waking up where you didn't fall asleep originally? Although that, of course, can be phrased a little bit better, but the point is that it doesn't necessarily have to be your usual bed that you fell asleep in originally.
いえ。
じゃあその知り合いに言われたのが初めてっていうことだね。
I nodded feebly, then took the plunge and opened my mouth.
僕、寝てないんです。
もしかして怖いのかな？でもそんなに深刻になる必要はないよ。
いや、その。
That wasn't it. That wasn't what I'd wanted to say. But I didn't know how to explain it, and I couldn't get my thoughts in order, and as I remained at a loss, I lost the chance to speak up. After scribbling something on his clipboard, Dr. Takashina spun the chair he was sitting so that his back was facing me and leaned towards the back of the examining room.
葉月くん、ちょっと。
はい。
A young nurse came running over. The doctor whispered some directions to her while showing her his clipboard, and she soon returned to the back of the room. What was going on? As I sat there in confusion, Dr. Takashina turned back to face me. Next, he told me all about somnambulism in a gentle tone of voice. Yeah, he does explain some things, but I don't think he necessarily explains what this is. So let's just do one quick little search very quickly. Hopefully get something that tells us an idea as to what this is. It would also help if I would actually spell it correctly, for one thing. And this is essentially just describing sleepwalking. It is, I guess, the medical term for sleepwalking. So, yeah. But, of course, he doesn't necessarily explain to you, or in any way, shape, or form actually inform you, that that is, in fact, just the medical term for sleepwalking. But that is what it is, according to Google. When people fall asleep, they start off in REM sleep, then shift to non-REM sleep. REM sleep is what happens when your body is resting, but your mind remains active in a state close to awakening. And in opposition to that, non-REM sleep is what happens when your brain pauses its activity and you fall into a much deeper level of slumber.
無遊病はノンレム睡眠の時に起きやすいって言われてる。脳が通常の活動をしていないから普通の受け答えとかは成立しにくいけど、ちゃんと返事もするし、階段などを踏み外さずに上り下りすることだってできる。原因としては精神的なストレスを抱えてる時になりやすいんだ。
And I think it's safe to say that our main character here is under quite a lot of psychological stress. Especially more recently.
子供に多い症状だけど、成人でもよくある症状なんだよ。これで分かっただろ？深刻になることはないって言った意味が。
But I hadn't been asleep. Though I hadn't slept, I couldn't remember what I'd done. As for the period when Shogun posted his parts of the chat from room 37, I thought I was playing Etsu the whole time. Is this really what you call sleepwalking? I wanted to ask him, but Dr. Takashina was readily advancing his side of the conversation.
無遊病かどうかを調べる方法としてはいくつかある。一番手っ取り早いのはここのベッドで寝てもらうことだね。ただ特定条件じゃないと発生しない場合もあるかもしれない。例えば自分のベッドじゃないとダメとか、意識がない状態で出歩くにしても目的もなくふらふらと歩き続けるのか、それとも何らかの脅迫観念があってそれに影響されて何らかの一連の目的を持って出歩いているのか。
So what he just said there is this line, this sentence here and sort of the next couple of sentences. But I didn't want to go ahead and click to go to the next sentence without, because I'm not sure if that'll end up having him stop talking. So, yeah. Just wait for him to finish and then I'll continue on. And since he's finished, let's go and continue on. For instance, it might be your own bed. This is one of the things he just said. Even though you're walking around unconscious, there's a difference between doing so aimlessly and being driven by some kind of obsession, which influences you to pursue a sequence of goals as you walk around again. He just said that, but I wanted to be on the safe side, not have him just stop talking because, oh, hey, you went to the next sentence.
それに君の精神状態についても特定の条件下じゃないとダメかもしれない。 自宅のベッドの上ならリラックスできるけど、ここじゃリラックスのしようがないわけだ。どうする？とりあえず寝ていってみるかい？
There would be no harm in letting him check up on me. After I proved I wasn't a sleepwalker, I'd ask him my original question. The nurse named Suzuki led me to the diagnostic bed in the back. Due to the fact that it wasn't meant to be slept on, it was hard and uncomfortable. Well, I had no trouble dealing with it once I compared it to the sofa I usually slept on, which I want to note, I don't believe he's usually slept on the sofa. I could have sworn he has an actual bed up in his container. But maybe it was a sofa, I don't remember anymore. It's been a while since we've been there.
3時間くらいしたら起こしに行きますから。
The nurse was awfully cute. Lying on the bed, I stole glances at her while avoiding meeting her eyes. Her slightly childlike features made her seem undependable, somehow, and she gave off an aura of misfortune, but she was brisk and efficient when it came to her work. She felt like the type of heroine who might appear in an old-school eroge, one about twisted sex in hospitals.
できるだけ目は離さないようにしていますので、安心して眠ってくださいね。
And I want to say, I think some people will, and probably even maybe most people, will struggle to sleep if they know somebody's going to be watching them. So, yeah, saying that I don't think is going to help somebody rest at ease. In other words, she would make sure of my safety even if I manifested symptoms of sleepwalking and started wandering around.
それでは、ごゆっくり。
The nurse gave me a small smile, closed the curtains and left. Surrounded by blank white curtains, I released a deep breath. For around me, I could hear the voices of the doctor and a patient he was examining, the sounds of other nurses pitter-pattering around, and the sound of the examining door opening and closing. It was certainly hard to calm down. Would I be able to fall asleep under these conditions? Figuring it was useless, I closed my eyes anyway. Let's go green, because that's what I did the first time. No matter what I did, the Guro picture from Shogun and the cruelly murdered body from the scene of the staking seemed about to float into my head. And I'll be honest, I think if you go with red, you probably just basically get to see that scene over. But I'm not 100% sure. And so I forcibly began picturing Seira. But of course, you've also got the potential that something bad happens to Seira if you go with the red option. Who knows?
タッキー、外出嫌いなのに病院来るなんてすごい。
And I think this is more or less the first time that we've actually gotten to see Seira pretty much her full body. Usually I think we only get to see roughly like the waist and up. So yeah.
私前から思ってたんだけどさ、タッキーって実はすごく強い男の子だよね。
Seira was quite lively in my fantasies. I was about to say fantasies. That makes no sense. She sang out to me in that cute voice of hers.
私、そんなタッキーの強さが好き。それにタッキーは無遊病なんかじゃないよ。私毎日タッキーのこと見てるもん。だからわかるさ。三次元女になんか騙されちゃダメだぞ。タッキーには私がいるっしょ。またあのコンテナハウスで二人きりで過ごそうね。ボケなす。
You're so adorable, Seira. Seira was my ideal bride, after all. No woman could surpass her. The third dimension? What the heck was that? I want to go home. I want to go back and have Seira greet me with a smile and welcome home. Wait for me, Seira. I'll be home soon, so...
こ
帰らなくてもいいよ。
どういうこと？
迎えに来たから。
Her whisper by my ear sounded astoundingly real. I had the feeling that she was jabbing me in the cheek. I slowly opened my eyes.
おはよ、ボケナス。
Sarah was standing beside the bed. She wasn't in 1/8 scale or anything of the sort. She was life-size, and she moved sleekly. I drank in a breath, pushed up my body, and tried poking Sarah's chest.
おお
It had bounced back at me. She wasn't a figure. She was the real thing. Sarah had descended to the third dimension.
のんのん、ここは二次元だよ。
And timer just went off, but I'm gonna end this where I did the first original recording of this, which will be after this sort of dream sequence. Was it really? Even though she was so soft and bouncy?
二次元的にプニプニなんさ。
I didn't get her meaning, but as long as she was bouncy, I'd be fine with anything. Speaking of which, my excessive shock had made me touch her on the chest. I suddenly became abashed. The life-size Sarah was amazingly cute, fatally moe, and real. That was why my guilt over having touched her and my fear that she might come to dislike me grew stronger.
ごめん、セイラタン。
タッキーならいいよ。
本当？
他の人にはこんなことされるのは嫌だけどさ。特に進むとか、あいつに胸触られたら金棒で月までぶっ飛ばしちゃってる。
Oh, but I'm sure he'd be happy because he's still got to touch her chest.
静かに。声出すと看護師さんたちに見つかっちゃうっしょ。
Sarah seemed concerned about what lay beyond the curtains. And, being careful not to make a sound, she took off her shoes and climbed up on the bed. She straddled my hips. On the verge of raising my voice again, I hastily covered my mouth with my hand. Sarah was straddling me. The panties inside her skirt were making direct contact with my crotch. Shit! My Johnson was threatening to burst out of control. Sarah brought her face closer. She smelled nice. This was Sarah's scent.
ねえねえ、タッキー。タッキーも二次元になっちゃうべきだよ。
What was she talking about?
タッキーはまだ三次元なんさ。だから私が二次元にしてあげる。
And I'd imagine it's kind of hard to do it with a 2D individual if you are 3D.
いいっしょ。
Could she really do such a thing?
できるよ。それにすっごく気持ちいいよ。
From our surroundings, I could hear the sounds of nurses busily walking around and the doctor talking to his other patients as he examined them. This space was set apart by a single curtain. If someone opened it, they'd definitely catch us in the act. My head spun with the thrill of it, not to mention the immorality of doing something like this in a hospital. On top of everything, my partner in this wanton escapade was Sarah, my current #1 favorite of all my wives. I sure was a lucky guy. I couldn't think about anything else anymore, and thus I simply nodded in answer to whatever Sarah told me.
そうこなくっちゃ。そんなタッキーが好き。
And Sarah pressed her lips against mine. and you guys get to hear all of the sort of kissing and sucking noises. Yeah. And I personally do kind of wonder if they actually had the voice actors and whatnot for these characters make these noises, or if they just found them on the internet. Either way, for me, it's kind of hard to take it seriously because I just want to burst out laughing at them. I also want to point out, this, because of the hair color, doesn't really look like Sarah. As we know, Sarah has pink hair. This looks more like purple, which I believe purple is usually used to represent black hair. For some reason or another, I don't know why. So, yeah, that doesn't really look like Sarah. Makes me wonder if it's actually the nurse, but I don't know. I didn't play past the end of the dream sequence, so who knows? How very soft. Was this also an example of 2D softness? It felt more tender than anything in real life. My thoughts had trouble keeping up with this arrow development. It didn't occur to me to do anything of my own accord. As my eyes went wide, Sarah's tongue slipped between my lips and invaded my mouth. It was so pleasurable my eyes threatened to go rolling around in their sockets, although I think they actually had the voice actors and actresses and whatnot actually make these noises, which I still can't take it seriously, personally. It was so... okay, no, I already read that. I hadn't known that kissing felt this good. I wanted her seductively stirring her tongue to keep assaulting my mouth forever. I embraced Sarah's waist, but her body was flimsy because she was 2D. She was bouncy, but also thin and flimsy. Perhaps it was like kissing a piece of paper, but it felt so amazingly good that it didn't bother me. I didn't have the room to let it bother me. Sarah was ultra hot. My body, my innards, my flesh, my bones. I felt my throbbing heart come climbing up my throat, the numerous thick veins attached to it shredded inside me. It was an unbelievable sensation. It hurt so bad, but it felt even better. My whole body had become one erogenous zone. Honestly, that's not a word that I am used to pronouncing, so I'm fairly certain I mispronounced it. Literally my whole body. Not merely its surface. The inside of my throat, my heart, my veins, my lungs, my intestines. Having Sarah violate, suck up, and devour the inside of my body made me so happy and gave me such pleasure that I almost passed out. I'd die. I die from feeling too good. Ah, oh my god. Now that she'd sucked everything out of me, Sarah removed her lips from mine with a satisfied look. A mixture of blood and spit dripped from her mouth. Well, that's not a good thing, I'll tell you that right now, buddy.
タッキーのすごく美味しかった。
I will be honest with you, I do personally find Sarah a little bit creepy sometimes in his fantasies here. She smiled bewitchingly. I didn't have the energy to respond. Sarah had taken everything from me. It was the first time I'd experienced such blinding pleasure, and I was utterly distracted. Fog caught at the edges of my consciousness, and my thoughts grew hazy.
ほらタッキー、自分の体見てみて。タッキーもこれで二次元の住人だよ。
Swaying, I tried to slide off the bed and stand up. My body had become as flimsy as Sarah's. It was kind of hard to walk. Rather, I went limp and couldn't even stay standing. I collapsed soundlessly as though to worm my way across the floor. Sarah, I can't get up. Lend me a hand. Sarah's voice reached me up on the bed.
二次元へようこそ。
Okay, well, that is that. Yeah. Like I said, I was going to cut it off at the end of the sort of dream sequence thing there. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to save over that save anyway, even though it's no different at all. But that's going to be it for this episode. As always, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you guys next time. But until then, goodbye and farewell.